The diner was almost empty that night, except for the hum of an old jukebox and the hiss of coffee brewing behind the counter. The neon sign outside flickered like a heartbeat, tired, faint, but still alive. Emma wiped down the last table with trembling hands. Her shift had dragged on for 10 long hours, and the man at the corner booth hadn't taken his eyes off her for the last 2. She could feel the weight of his stare pressing on her back, the kind that makes your skin crawl even when he pretends he's just reading the menu. She'd seen his kind before, smug, entitled, dangerous in quiet ways. But tonight felt different. Each time she passed his table, he muttered something, barely above a whisper, words meant to be heard only by her. "You look lonely. I know where you live. You shouldn't walk home alone." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She didn't have a car. The last bus left an hour ago, and her apartment was nearly a mile away down a dark road lined with broken streetlights. The other waitress had already clocked out. The cook, a heavy-set man with earbuds in, was washing dishes in the back. She was alone, except for the stranger and a group of bikers sitting near the window, men who looked like trouble but, somehow, safer than the threat in front of her. Their leather jackets bore the patch of the Hells Angels. Emma had never spoken to them before. They came in sometimes after long rides, loud but polite enough, tipping generously and never making her uncomfortable. Their leader, a man named Jax, was quiet, with eyes that looked carved from steel and a voice that rumbled like thunder. He sat at the edge of the booth, sipping black coffee, watching everything without seeming to. When the man in the corner booth finally stood up, Emma's stomach turned cold. He tossed a crumpled bill on the counter, too little to cover his check, but his smile said he didn't care. "See you outside," he whispered. Her hand trembled as she gathered the dishes. The doorbell jingled as he left, but she could still feel him nearby, waiting. She looked toward the bikers. Jax caught her eyes and frowned, sensing something wrong. She took a shaky step toward him, her voice barely audible. "Please," she whispered, "he won't stop following me." The noise in the diner fell away. One of the bikers froze mid-laugh. Jax stood up slowly, towering over her, his expression turning to stone. "Who?" he asked. She pointed toward the window. Outside, beneath the flickering sign, the man leaned against a lamppost, staring in through the glass with a grin that made her knees weak. Jax turned his head slightly. 2 of his men followed his gaze and nodded. "Stay here," he said softly. Then he walked out into the night. Outside, the cold wind whipped through the parking lot. Jax's boots echoed against the pavement. The man straightened up, trying to look fearless, but there was something in Jax's calmness that made most men step back. "You got business here?" Jax asked, voice low. "Not with you," the man spat, his confidence fueled by arrogance. "Just keeping an eye on my girl." Jax's eyes narrowed. "Your girl?" The man smirked. "She didn't tell you. She likes a little attention." Inside, Emma pressed her palms together, praying. She could see through the glass that the man was mouthing something, but Jax didn't move. He just stared, silent, like a storm waiting to break. Then, in one motion, Jax stepped forward. "You listen to me," he said, his voice calm but deadly. "You don't follow her. You don't talk to her. You don't even breathe in her direction again. Understand?" The man scoffed, took a step closer, and Jax's fist moved faster than anyone saw coming. One punch. The stalker stumbled backward into the lamppost, dazed, then collapsed onto the cold ground. Jax didn't hit him again. He didn't need to. He just leaned over him and growled, "If I see you within a mile of her again, you'll wish you were never born." Then he turned, walked back into the diner, and sat down as if nothing had happened. Emma stood frozen. Her lips parted but no words came out. Jax looked up at her and said, "He won't bother you again." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. He gave a small nod, like it wasn't a big deal, and went back to his coffee. But to her, it meant everything. For the next few days, Emma's world felt lighter. She still worked long hours, still scraped together coins for rent, but the fear that had shadowed her steps was gone. The biker gang had started coming by more often, ordering food, checking in on her. They called her Red because of her auburn hair, and treated her like one of their own. But Jax, he was different. He didn't say much, didn't smile often, but there was a quiet gentleness in his eyes when he looked at her. Sometimes he'd wait outside after her shift, making sure she got home safe. He never asked for anything in return. One evening, as she was locking up, he was there again, leaning against his motorcycle. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Better, thanks to you." He shrugged. "You didn't deserve what happened." "Nobody does." She hesitated. "Why'd you help me? You didn't even know me." He looked away, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "Because I've seen it before. My sister, she went through the same thing. No one helped her, not in time." Emma's breath caught. There was a pain in his voice that words couldn't soften. She wanted to ask more, but the way he stared into the distance made her stop. "Thank you," she said again softly. Jax gave a small smile, the first she'd ever seen. "Just doing what's right, Red. Weeks passed. The stalker disappeared, but life had its own cruel rhythm. The diner's owner decided to sell the place, leaving Emma jobless overnight. Her savings were barely enough for rent, and she had no family to turn to. When Jax found out, he didn't hesitate. "Come by the garage," he told her. "We could use someone to help with the books, coffee runs, that kind of thing. It's honest work." At first, she refused. "I can't just show up at a biker garage," she laughed nervously. "People will talk." Jax smirked. "Let 'em talk. You need work. We need help. Seems fair." She finally agreed, and within days, she found herself in a world she'd never imagined. Roaring engines, the smell of oil and leather, men who looked rough but treated her like a sister. She learned that the Hell's Angels weren't just rebels, they were family. They took care of their own. They ran charity rides for veterans, fixed bikes for free, and always paid their debts. For the first time in years, Emma felt safe. But peace, like all fragile things, doesn't last forever. It started one evening when Jax didn't show up. He was never late, never unreachable. By midnight, word spread that a rival gang had ambushed one of their riders outside town, and Jax had gone after them. Emma's heart pounded as she listened to the whispers. "They've got him outnumbered. Cops won't go near it. It's bad." She didn't think. She grabbed her jacket and ran. The night air was thick with tension. When she reached the old bridge on Route 9, she saw the glow of headlights and the flash of metal. Jax stood surrounded by 3 men, blood trickling from his brow but his stance unbroken. "Jax!" she screamed before she could stop herself. All heads turned. One of the men lunged toward her, but before he reached, Jax roared, a sound that could freeze fire. He swung a chain, sending the man sprawling. The others backed off, muttering curses. As they fled into the darkness, Emma ran to him, tears streaming down her face. "You could have been killed." He laughed softly, wiping the blood away. "Takes more than that to stop me. You shouldn't have gone alone," she scolded, voice trembling. He looked at her, eyes softening. "I wasn't alone. You came." She froze, realizing what he meant. And in that moment, the noise of the world faded away. The wind howled, the river below raged, but between them, there was silence. A silence that said everything words couldn't. Days later, Jax was back at the diner, his arm in a sling, sipping his usual coffee. Emma slid into the booth across from him. "You know," she said, "I used to think angels wore white. Turns out, some ride motorcycles." He chuckled. "Don't let the guys hear that." She smiled. "I'm serious. You saved me, twice." He shook his head. "Nah, you saved yourself. You just needed someone to remind you you're worth saving." Her eyes welled up. "You think I'll ever stop being afraid?" He reached across the table, his rough hand brushing hers. "Fear doesn't go away, Red. You just learn to ride with it." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. The storm clouds gathered, but inside that small diner, it felt warm, safe. A month later, the stalker returned. He showed up outside her apartment one night, drunk, screaming her name. Emma froze, panic rushing back like a ghost she thought she'd buried. She dialed Jax without thinking. Within minutes, engines thundered down her street. A dozen bikers rolled up, headlights cutting through the darkness. The man stumbled back, his bravado fading as the motorcycles encircled him. Jax stepped forward. You just made the worst mistake of your life, he said calmly. The man stuttered. I wasn't. I just wanted to talk. Talk's over, Jax interrupted. You're done. That night, the police arrived before anything else happened. The man was arrested, his record long enough to guarantee time behind bars. When it was over, Emma collapsed into tears. Jax put a hand on her shoulder. It's finished, he said softly. You're safe now. She looked up at him. Why do you keep helping me? He paused, searching for words. Because somewhere along the road, you became part of my ride. And I don't leave my people behind. Time passed, and seasons changed. Emma found her footing again. Steady, strong, no longer looking over her shoulder. The garage became her second home, the bikers her unlikely brothers. And Jax, he was more than a protector now. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, she walked out to where he sat polishing his bike. The sky burned orange and gold. Going somewhere? She asked. He looked up, grinning. Thinking of taking a ride. Want to come? She hesitated only a moment before nodding. Always. He handed her a helmet. As the engine roared to life, she climbed on behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. The wind rushed past as they rode through the fading light, two souls who had found each other in the wreckage of fear and fate. And for the first time, Emma felt truly free. That night, as the stars came out over the open road, she leaned close to his ear and whispered, You know, I never thanked you properly. He smiled beneath his helmet. You're here. That's thanks enough. She rested her head against his back, the roar of the engine drowning out the ghosts of her past. The poor waitress who once whispered for help was gone. In her place was a woman who had learned courage from the most unexpected angel, a Hell's Angel who showed her that even the darkest nights can lead to the light. And somewhere, between the hum of the tires and the beating of her heart, she realized something simple but true. Sometimes, salvation comes in leather and steel.